Each week, I stand up here and I try to share a message that gives relevance to the scriptures we hear, and at the same time challenges us to take actions to live out the faith we profess and the beliefs we embrace. Last week, my message focused on seeing God in our midst and challenged us to look for God each and every day. I wonder how many of us did so. For those who did not, I wonder, why not? One reason some might not take the challenge may be that they are afraid of what they might find. Or in the case of last week's challenge, they might miss God altogether. Another reason might be they simply forgot. I get it. My message and the challenge offered is not the last thing you hear before re-entering the world, as with some other traditions. Still, another reason may be that starting something new, taking on a challenge, is hard. Those of us who have tried to lose weight, begin an exercise routine, read the Bible from cover to cover, all know this. Finding time, making the effort, overcoming that feeling of failure we get when we fall out of our new routine, all keep us from taking that first step. Add to this the perceived enormity of the task before us, and then the fact that it's highly unlikely anyone else will ever know if we succeed or not, leaves us with little enthusiasm about doing so. That's one reason people often say that when I take on something new and I tell somebody, I'm more apt to do it because they will help hold me accountable. All well and good in those times when they can see us and check up on us. But what about all those times when nobody's looking? Do we still strive to do what we say we will? Or do we let things slide? Sadly, most of us, including yours truly, sometimes, occasionally, more often than not, whatever you want to say, let things slide. We justify letting them slide by saying, well, they really weren't that important anyway. Or, I put that on the back burner in order to do something much more important. This weekend, our inviting workshop looked at a list of things common to communities that we do to live out our faith and the beliefs we profess, trying to determine which is more important to our community. And one thing we found was that the things we looked at, depending on the situation, had different levels of importance to different people. Where one person saw something as a lower priority, another saw it as high. Now, one thing we did not look on that list at, but I think we can all agree on it is important, is if we are going to truly live out our faith and beliefs we profess, it is that we must trust in God. Our baptismal covenant reminds us that we are only able to do so with the help of God. What would it take for us to really trust in God to take that first step into the unknown, the ominous, the foreboding? And I'm not talking about being in church every Sunday on time in the pew. I'm I'm not talking about making that first or doubling your current pledge. I'm not even talking about taking part in one of our many outreach efforts. I'm talking about taking steps to deepen our relationship with God so that we can truly trust in God to be there when God is needed the most. Elijah nor Peter could have taken the steps they did if they did not truly trust in God to be there to help them. In Old Testament times, it was generally accepted that to see God or to stand in God's presence, unless you were the high priest, designated high priest, meant certain death. So one can only imagine what was running through Elijah's head when God commands him to leave the safety of that cave and to stand on the mountaintop in his presence. His fear may be one reason he did not recognize God in the traditional ways God had made God's self known in the past. But after his encounter, he left the mountain with an assurance of God's presence and grace in his life that enabled him to live out his faith in God and to loudly and boldly profess his belief in God's goodness so that others might come to know it too. Peter, too, faced a decision in which he would risk his life. One, he appeared unwilling to do so unless Jesus commanded him to. But Jesus commanded him to leave the safety of the boat to come and stand with him on the sea. Like Elijah, Peter hears and obeys, trusting Jesus will be with him as he steps out onto water, and he begins walking to Jesus. And he does fine until he questions in here whether or not Jesus truly has the power to overcome nature and its realities. And as he does, he begins to sink. It's not that Jesus' power was insufficient to keep Peter from succeeding. It was Peter's lack of faith that weighed him down, keeping him from accomplishing that which he was called to do. It is believed that he thought, like we often do, that even though Jesus is with us at our side, there are some things we must do on our own. And then seeing the enormity of what is before us, we freeze. We become unable to move forward. And as I am sure Peter felt, we feel as if we have been deserted and left to sink into the despair that engulfs us. Because Jesus was there, as Peter calls out to the Lord, he is lifted up from his quagmire. And Jesus reaches out to us too. Whether we face major challenges in life or the simple ones offered in our weekly message, one thing we must remember is we never face them alone. Jesus is at our side, ready and willing and able to help us. Knowing this, what would it take for us to take a step of faith that truly trusts in God? I'm not speaking about life-taking risks, but acts that bear witness to our faith and the beliefs we profess. Acts taken not just so those around us can see how faithful we are, but acts that reveal to God and to us the true depth of our faith and our commitment to living into it as best we can. Such acts will be challenging in and of themselves. They will require us to reorder our priorities and change our focus in life, placing our trust in God above our own self-reliance. As we all know, change is hard. But the good news is that with God's help, we know we can and will succeed. So this week, let each of us find one area in our life in which we could better live out our faith and the beliefs we profess. Maybe it's in our prayer lives, or how we relate to someone at work or school. Or maybe it's something we need to do to strengthen our relationship with God. Whatever it is, let us then lay it before God and ask God to help us succeed. Well, we may stumble at first. Our faith reminds us that Jesus will be there to help us up when we fall. All we need do is look for the outstretched hand that awaits us and then reach for it. However, we will never see that hand if we are not looking for it. And while God's hand has the power to lift us up without any effort on our part, sometimes it is important for us to know exactly where and through whom our help comes. This week, let us seek God's help to live our lives more faithfully and to profess more boldly the beliefs we hold dear. Not just with our words, not just with our hearts, but in the actions we take every day. Amen.